we're doing an investigation of congressional corruption too. Remember the Awan brothers? The Awan brothers were IT people who worked for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and they ended up working for a bunch of congressmen who were implicated in criminal activity. And even after they were implicated in suspicious activity, Debbie Wasserman Schultz kept at least one of them on because she thought it was part of some anti-Muslim bias. And it was a massive security breach, potentially. And of course, the Justice Department erred on the side of protecting their bosses in the House. And it looks like didn't really want to pursue this investigation strongly. And Judicial Watch participated in a meeting on the Hill last year where we talked about this, and we'll provide a link to it, so I'll give you the details there. But we had sued for the documents about this. So there are prosecutions, non-prosecutions, all sorts of interesting issues we wanted to pursue about House corruption and the DOJ potential cover-up of such House corruption, because it had a national security component, major issues about whether Pakistan was taking advantage of the security breaches that were evident here. And then, of course, you had just the naked corruption of the House in terms of refusing to fire people who or hold them accountable over alleged criminal activity or in-your-face criminal activity. So we filed some FOIA requests in 2017 and then 2018, and we filed the lawsuits. And we were supposed to get the documents in November 5th, 2019. And they told us, the DOJ told the court, they began producing them to us. And after producing no records on November 13th, 2019, the agency told Judicial Watch it was having, quote, technical difficulties, and in a recent email then claimed that the difficulties with the production remain. And then, in a joint status report filed last week, Judicial Watch told the court that the DOJ claimed in the phone call that it was now unable to produce any records to either of the FOIA requests because the agency was waiting for some unspecified action by another judge, Judge Chutkan, who's a federal district court judge here in the District of Columbia, in some other matter so as to avoid having to produce records in this case. In that same report, the DOJ told the court that Judge Chutkan is presiding over a related sealed criminal matter. Sealed means that we can't get that details. That prohibits the government from releasing the requested FOIA information. So we're like, what's going on here? They told us they were going to release the records. They don't give us the records. They pretend there's technical difficulties, and then they start pointing to some secret court record as a reason not to produce the records to us. So we had the court hearing today. So I attended the hearing with our attorney, Jim Peterson. So this is how it works. As Judicial Watch president, I am the client for Judicial Watch. I'm the corporate representative, so I go sit there like a big lummox in the courtroom at the table, not saying anything, just try not to do anything that gets anyone upset. And Jim Peterson is representing Judicial Watch, and he goes up and says, look, we have to have the ability to rely on the statements of the Justice Department, and obviously so does the court. When they tell you they're going to produce the documents and provide a sufficient excuse as to why not. Instead, you had these obviously shady stories were being told. And in response, the court, you know, he didn't say, oh, Judicial Watch is right in a strong way, but he ordered the Justice Department to give to him a full explanation as to what went on, which is something obviously the Justice Department never really wants to do, to go on record as to why they were, it looks like, shading the truth with the court and Judicial Watch. So I tell you, when I talk to you about the FISA warrant abuse and the lies to the courts, I see that all over the place by the Justice Department. They're always playing games. And so now we're going to have to wait till early January for the explanation. some of which may be sealed, meaning we won't be able to see it. We'll be in camera, meaning only the court will see it. But the court did tell the Justice Department, by the way, if you're going to give me anything private, make sure there's material sufficient that's public so the Judicial Watch knows what the heck is going on. But this is the gamesmanship that we have to put up with from the Justice Department and the FBI. So when Attorney General Barr talks about cleaning house, when Wray says the FBI isn't doing anything wrong, I see all sorts of misconduct on an everyday basis by their dishonest Justice Department. And here's the background. Imran Awan and his family were banned from the House Computer Network in February of 2017 after the House's top law enforcement officer wrote that Imran is an ongoing and serious risk to the House of Representatives, possibly threatening the integrity of our information systems, and that a server containing evidence had gone missing. The Inspector General said that server logs showed unauthorized access and procurement records were falsified. Awan was Ibir Wasserman's top information technology aide. Most lawmakers fired Awan in February, so he was working from multiple offices, but Wasserman Schultz kept him on until he was arrested in July of 2017 trying to board a flight to Pakistan. In July 2018, Awan was given a plea deal and pled guilty to federal bank fraud, but prosecutors found, quote, no evidence that Awan, quote, violated federal law with respect to the House computer systems. So a lot of people have been critical of that DOJ whitewash, seemingly, of what went on. The Awan brothers reportedly were not given background checks before being given access to highly sensitive government information, and no explanations have been given as to why. Additionally, quote, if they would have run this background check, it would have been found out not only multiple criminal convictions, but $1 million bankruptcy, a dozen lawsuits. It would have found a whole host of major red flags, and the Democrats didn't do any of those checks. So you've got this scandal that implicates national security, involves a cover-up by House Democrat leadership, and now misconduct by the deep state DOJ and FBI. An important scandal, don't you think? And it's only Judicial Watch that's doing the heavy lifting to try to get access to the information in court, fighting tooth and nail to hold the House of Representatives to account, to hold the FBI to account for you, the American people.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.